Hello. In this video, I'm going to be going through a few of the problems in practice problem set 1-7 with you. In the reading material right before 1-7, I've tried to help you become more sensitive to other meanings of commonly used premise introducers and conclusion introducers. By that, what I mean is the following. Many, not necessarily all, but many of the commonly used introducers are also used in English with entirely different meanings that have nothing whatsoever to do with introducing part of an argument. And so we cannot just automatically assume that if we see, for example, the word for, that word is working to introduce a premise. Similarly, we cannot, for example, just automatically assume that if we see the word so, that word is being used to introduce a conclusion. Those words have other meanings as well. Now, one thing you do not have to worry about is a common premise introducer suddenly turning into a conclusion introducer, or a common conclusion introducer suddenly turning into a premise introducer. That does not happen. The word so, for example, whenever it introduces any part of an argument, introduces a conclusion. However, there are times when the word so does not introduce any part of an argument at all. Let me just go through with you 4 of the problems in 1-7. Oh, and let me first mention that this fact about the commonly used introducers has kind of been in the background in a lot of in some at least, of what we've done already in this semester. But I wanted to foreground it for you and bring it to your attention so that you will become more sensitive to it. All right, I want to start with number 2, which is about compost. And in case you don't know, compost is a mixture of decaying organic substances, such as dead leaves or manure, and it's used to fertilize soil. This quote says, "Because it is so dark in color, compost absorbs the sun's rays and warms the soil." There are 2 words here that if you were to look at boxes 1A and 1B, you would find. You would find because in the commonly used premise introducers box, and you would find the word so in the commonly used conclusion introducers box. I hope, however, that it is clear to you that the word so is not being used to introduce a conclusion here. For one thing, what follows it, well, that's 3 words, dark in color. Dark in color cannot be a conclusion. Furthermore, one common meaning of the word so is very or extremely, and that's what it means here. Because is introducing a premise, namely the premise that compost is extremely dark in color, and that premise in turn is being used to support the conclusion that compost absorbs the sun's rays and warms the soil. So let me write that up on the board. All right, let me turn now to number 4, which reads as follows. Carbofuran was once a popular farm pesticide used to target foxes and raccoons. It's been banned from all uses since 2009 because it was so powerful that it ended up killing animals not targeted by its use. Here we have 3 words that you would find in those commonly used introducer boxes at the start of chapter 1. So, because, and since. Since is often used to talk about times or relationship in time rather than to introduce a premise, and that's what's going on here. It's telling us that this pesticide has been banned since a certain time, not because of 2009, but ever after that time. Because it's introducing a premise, and then we have an interesting construction. It was so powerful that it ended up killing animals not targeted by its use. So powerful that something or another happened. There, so is not introducing a conclusion. It's not introducing any part of an argument at all. Those constructions, so, one thing, that, another thing, are not in and of themselves arguments. Instead, we've got because introducing the premise that carbofuran was so powerful that it ended up killing animals not targeted by its use. We're told the source of this, officials, that's pretty vague argument attribution, and then the conclusion is before, because, in that sentence. It's been banned from all use since 2009. To write that, I have to replace the pronoun it with the noun to which it refers, which is carbofuran. And by the way, the first sentence is a topic sentence, not part of the argument itself. So there we are. For number 4, the conclusion is carbofuran has been banned from all use since 2009. I'm going to turn now to number 8, which reads as follows. Most tattooists are extremely careful to avoid working on people who are obviously under the influence of alcohol or other drugs. Drunken clients tend to generate conflict in the shop, and tattooists are aware that tattooing someone who is not entirely free to choose the procedure has the potential for causing trouble. In a business that continues to labor under the reputation of being on the margins of respectability, at best, this is to be avoided. I only notice one word that you would find in either the common conclusion introducer or the common premise introducer box towards the start of chapter 1, and that's the word for. When the word for introduces part of an argument, it introduces a premise, not a conclusion. But I hope it's clear to you here that for, towards the end, I guess, of the 4th line of this, is not introducing a premise. You could rewrite this as has the potential to cause trouble rather than for causing trouble. And I think that rewrite makes it clear that for is not introducing a premise. So, we don't have any premise introducers or conclusion introducers here. What is the conclusion? Well, if you think about it, I hope you will notice that first sentence, most tattooists are extremely careful to avoid working on people who are obviously under the influence of alcohol or other drugs. That first sentence is supported by everything else that is said in this paragraph. So the first sentence by itself is the conclusion, and the rest of the paragraph consists of premises. You might wonder why I've included or other drugs, given that the first premise is talking about drunken clients generating conflict in the shop. Well, look after that at the following. Tattooists are aware that tattooing someone who is not entirely free to choose the procedure has the potential to cause trouble. Why might someone not be entirely free to choose to get tattooed? Not only because they're drunk, but another reason could be because they're under the influence of some other kind of drug that compromises their ability to give free consent. So, or other drugs is supported by some, though not necessarily all, of the premise material given after the first sentence. That's why I included it. Let me turn now to number 9, which is talking about the ports of Los Angeles and Long Beach, and says, the majority of the 16,000 truck drivers who service both ports are classified as independent contractors rather than employees and do not qualify for minimum wage, overtime pay, unemployment benefits, or workers' compensation, according to a report by Brian J. Steger, director of the county's Department of Business and Consumer Affairs. I'm not sure if I pronounced that person's last name correctly. The only word or phrase we have here that is commonly used as an introducer is the word as. I hope it's clear to you, though, that as at the end of the first line here is not introducing a premise. It's talking about how the truck drivers at the ports are classified. In other words, it's saying they're classified in the capacity of independent contractors. In the capacity of is a common meaning for the word as. There are no other introducers used here, but notice that we could add the word therefore after and. That would read as follows. The majority of the 16,000 truck drivers who service both ports are classified as independent contractors rather than employees, and therefore do not qualify for minimum wage, overtime pay, unemployment benefits, or workers' compensation. And then that's followed by the attribution to the report, which is not part of the argument. Instead, it's argument attribution material. So I will not include it in the conclusion. In the conclusion, though, I do have to have a subject. So let's start out by saying, for the subject of the conclusion, let's start out by saying, as the subject of the conclusion, the majority of the 16,000 truck drivers who service the ports of Los Angeles and Long Beach, and then let's pick up from the text to finish that sentence. Putting that all together, here's what we get when we write out this entire conclusion. The majority of the 16,000 truck drivers who service the ports of Los Angeles and Long Beach do not qualify for minimum wage, overtime pay, unemployment benefits, or workers' compensation. All right, I hope that this has been helpful to you, and I will talk to you again soon. Hope you're doing well. Bye.